Hello and welcome. This will be a short lecture to introduce you to the objectives, labs, and technical work in Unit 2. This is a relatively straightforward chapter, and in fact most of it will be material you already know. But it will be easy to miss the big picture if you only focus on the mechanics. So I want to make sure to orient you to what this chapter is all about, which is to get you started on an approach to learning new technology by thinking about how the tools you use are designed with human interaction in mind. So let's look at the chapter objectives. You'll see, first of all, that you already have an intuitive understanding that many programs have similar functionality you've come to expect. Functions such as file and edit menus can be found on most any software programs. These and other features add up to what we can call a metaphor. And when software acts in a way that's consistent with a metaphor, it's easy to use. Sometimes we say that it's intuitive, but is it really intuitive? I would say not inherently. It just meets the expectations we've developed as a result of using similar products. So, a Mac software seems more intuitive to a Mac user because it behaves like other software the Mac users learned. But it's not inherently more intuitive to, say, a Windows or Linux user. Having said that, however, the differences are not all that great even among these three platforms, which all comprise the desktop metaphor. They're all much more alike than the newest computing metaphor, the touch devices, such as mobile smartphones and tablets. Another component of the metaphor is how to get work done. The text gives one example of a workflow, that of the placeholder and search and replace. I have an example I use all the time that I'll share that you may find useful, and I'll show that to you when I've concluded with the PowerPoint. But I'd like to make the point now that this is just one example of a workflow within the desktop metaphor. Can you think of other workflows within the desktop metaphor that you use regularly? And can you think of how these workflows are different within the touch metaphor? If you can think consciously about these things and be aware of them, then learning new technologies becomes much easier. One way to do that is to experiment. When you get a new piece of software, spend some time clicking and blazing, as the book describes it. The Computer Skills Workbook covers file management, and you should already know most of or all of this. So skim it just to make sure you haven't missed anything along the way. The video notes covers a little more on placeholders. The online lab demonstrates some alternative metaphors that did not go anywhere commercially. There are a couple of videos to watch and a copy-paste exercise to complete. So post any questions you have about the technology into Ask the Instructor. And finally, I'm very surprised to see that nowhere in the text is there any mention of Ada Lovelace. And when you read the Isaacson chapter, you'll see why. Ada is popularly believed to be the first computer programmer, although that claim is disputed by some. Anyway, it's a good start to the semester, and I hope to see some discussion on the chapter and on the book as we move along. As noted in the module plan, you'll be divided into smaller groups, and you might think of these sort of like a small book club for the purpose of discussing the readings, including the text and other resources. So now let me dive into a couple of demos, and then we're good for this unit. Okay, the first thing I want to demonstrate, and I'll demonstrate this first on the PC, and then I'll jump over to the Mac so you can see it both ways. Is this little cut and paste exercise. I think most of you probably know how to do this. The textbook suggests that you install a program called Notepad++. You can use Notepad, but I'd like you to install the Notepad++. That's recommended in, let's see, where is it? If you look at student resources, online labs, there's a lab 00 here. Introduction and resources. If you'll scroll down a little bit, there are a couple of text editors that they recommend, Notepad++ for Windows and Text Wrangler for the Mac. When you install Notepad++ for Windows, there's a set of options that comes up. You don't need to check any of these boxes, just do the default installation and that will install it on your computer. Now let's go back to Lab 2, and there are some other things for you to do first. They're going to ask you to do a cut and paste This will get you started really for some other cut and paste work we'll do later on in the semester. This is going to create a simple HTML form. We'll study more about HTML in a couple of weeks. And really all you need to do is highlight all this and go ahead and copy that to the clipboard. And then when you run Notepad++, let me pull that program up for you. Let's see here. And you're not seeing my full screen. I'm just recording a portion of it to try to get it into the format, but let me pull it up. Here we go. All right, and I'm going to do File, New. Now I have a blank screen. What I'm going to do here is, let's see, File, and I'm going to Save As. And note that it defaults to a normal text file, but it supports all these other file types. The assignment is going to have you save this as an HTML file. So we can, let me pull this, I think you can see this toward the bottom here. Yes, we've got hypertext markup HTML. So I'm going to save this to the desktop, and we'll call this Lab 2. And saving it to my desktop. You can save it to some other location if you'd like to. And then I'm going to simply paste that material in. You'll notice, unlike Notepad, if you've ever played around with Notepad before, the advantage of this kind of text editor is that it does do what we call syntax checking. So you'll notice it's highlighted different kinds of syntax that's HTML specific in different colors here. We'll cover that later, but I just want to make sure that you are familiar with how to do this exercise. And then we can save this again. It's saved on our desktop as Lab 2. That's really all we need to do for this exercise. And we're done, and then it would like you to open that in your browser so we can open up our file editor here to the desktop. Note that we've saved it. You just need to go ahead and double click that, and this is the form that we've opened. So you can go ahead and follow the lab, and that's how we do that. So let me go ahead and close this. The other piece of the exercise that I want to demonstrate on the Windows side is, and I think, yes, we can go ahead and close all that now, is the search and replace. And this is the placeholder exercise that we want to do. I have an example here. And the example they demonstrate shows you how to save off some abbreviations for names and some little tricks of the trade. One thing that I do quite frequently is I need to bring PDFs, copy-paste the text from a PDF into a Word document. And the problem with doing that is that PDFs have hard returns at the end of every line, and so they don't format well when you bring them into a Word document. And so you need to replace the hard returns at the end of every line with a hard return simply at the end of a paragraph. And you can see that in Microsoft Word. If this little symbol up here on the home page, and this works exactly the same in Word for the Mac as well. If you click this, you'll note that this shows all of these paragraph marks here. Let me bring this over here a little bit, make sure that everything's on my recording screen. There we go. And so the idea that we really need to accomplish here is that we need to actually replace all these hard paragraph marks here simply with spaces, because a Word paragraph is simply one long line, and then it formats the paragraph according to the parameters that you have set up. Now here's the end of a paragraph, and of course what we have to do is make sure that there is one of these paragraph marks at the end of a paragraph. And so the way to do this first is to make sure that we've delineated the end of the paragraph properly. The way I do this is to make sure that we've substituted a second paragraph mark here. And so we now have two paragraph marks at the end of a paragraph. Now, we can't simply then go deleting the paragraph marks because we will have deleted the paragraph marks where we want them. So now what I'm going to do is replace two paragraph marks, and those look like this, caret P, caret P. And I'm going to replace those with a character that's not otherwise used here, and I usually use a tilde, and I'm going to replace all of those. It made one replacement. Now I'm going to replace a single paragraph mark with a space, and I'm going to replace all of those, and it made 12 replacements. And now I'm going to go back and replace the tilde with the one paragraph mark that we need to delineate the end of our actual paragraphs, and that looks like this. Okay, and we're going to replace all of those. Now if we go back and look at what we've got here, we'll see that we have our two formatted paragraphs the way that Word likes to see them, and we've got one paragraph mark at the end of each paragraph. Now I've got a little assignment, and you're going to be able to combine what the text shows with this little trick here in order to complete that assignment for this week. This works exactly the same way in Microsoft Word for the Mac, except that it's actually on the Edit menu, the Advanced Search and Replace. The other thing you can do here, let me bring this into the recording window, is that you can also search and replace. Bring that up a little bit higher. You can actually search and replace font so that, for example, you can search for italic font and replace that with, for example, without looking for any specific text, replace that with bold. So this will search for any text that's in italics and replace it with bold. So you kind of get the idea there that search and replace is more than just characters, that they can be used for styles. All of these special characters, this probably goes down below the recording screen, and so on. Very handy. And this gives you maybe a little bit more to work with than you might have been used to working with in Microsoft Word. All right, so that covers, I think, the two technical, don't need to save that. That covers the two technical pieces that I wanted to go over. Let me now jump over to the Mac side quickly and just demonstrate there's a slightly different program that I want you to use for the Mac to create that cut and paste exercise. So I'll jump over to the Mac and we'll be ready to go. Thanks for watching. All right, here we are on the Mac side. The program we're using over here is Text Wrangler. Let me pop that up for you. I'm going to go to Finder, Applications. When you install this, I think it opens up a separate folder, and so you're going to need to copy that to the Applications folder. Here it is, Text Wrangler. Let me load this. We get a rather large window here. Let me bring this up into our video section here. And down here at the bottom, I'm going to, and I think you can barely see this. Let me rearrange this here, make this even a little bit smaller yet so you can see what I'm doing. We get to, much like we did with the other application, choose the file type that we're going to prepare. And notice that I did pick HTML here. Let me pull this down a little bit. Let me close our Finder window so we can see what we're doing. I've got the lab open in the background, and once again this is simply a matter of copying this like so, going back to Text Wrangler here and pasting this into the window. Once again, we are going to save this to our desktop, and we're going to save this as HTML. Again, we're going to call it Lab 2. And you can save to documents if you'd like. I think I'll just go ahead and save it to the desktop. That's going to be easier. We can save that, close it. We can close Firefox. Let me pull the file over so you can see it, lab2.html, and now I can simply open it and it opens the form. So that's simple enough, and as I say, that works similarly to the Notepad++ that we saw on the Windows side. While I'm here briefly, let me quit Safari. I will show you where in Word for the Mac, we'll open up a blank document here. And the search and replace is on the edit menu. It's find, then we need advanced find and replace here. And actually that's back advanced find and replace, and on the replace, and then we need to drop this down farther, and we can see that we've got the format here, so we can bring up the font dialog and look for the font style bold. And so that now works the same way on Word for the Macintosh as it did for the Windows. So I think that takes care of the technical demonstration. Thank you very much for watching. And I'll be recording separate recordings for each of the chapters that we're doing. So thank you very much for watching, and look for my other recording on Chapter 3. Thank you very much.